Hi, my name is Renata and welcome to another video on my channel. Today's project is inspired and focused on PaperArtsy products, but most of all, on the new addition to the PaperArtsy collection, the Mattints. So if you are curious about these new goodies, stay with me and I hope you will enjoy. This project I will start in a very simple fashion by applying a couple of acrylic paints. These are PaperArtsy Fresco finish acrylic paints, and these two particular ones are Granny Smith and Limelight. In this case I didn't prime my page with gesso, and I am working directly on a paper from Art by Marlene Arty Size Journal. As you can see, I'm not doing anything really complicated. I am applying the paint directly on my paper using the brush and trying to form some kind of random shapes. At this point I still didn't have any particular shapes in my head. But what I did know is that I wanted to give myself an opportunity to add multiple shades and to place them really close to each other, just for a contrast and comparison. Here you can already see some variations on the lines which I have made purely with Limelight, purely with Granny Smith, or the areas where I have combined these two colors. Here you can see where my inspiration for this project came. These two girls are from PaperArtsy stamp sets designed by JoFY, JoFY 41 and JoFY 42. You can always see the list of the products that I have used for this project and any other actually in the description box. Since this project was focusing mostly on Mattints, I did not show my coloring process of these two girls, but what I can tell is that I stamped them using Versamark ink in black color on smooth mixed media paper, and I have colored them using Prismacolor Premier pencils. One more thing that I would like to say is that this whole project was inspired by the PaperArtsy blog topic. So of course, if you want some more details, you can always find more about this project over at the PaperArtsy blog. I will also leave the link for that at the description box as well. But while you are there, I would also recommend you to check some other blog posts on this fabulous new product in the PaperArtsy range, because it's something really new on the market and it is really fun to use. And in this project I have explored only one of many fun features that Mattints provide. Now let's put our first Mattints to use. This one is called Dragonfly, and I will use it to alter the colors of my already green areas and to add some texture and interest on my, at this moment, pretty boring hillside. At the moment when I'm creating this video, PaperArtsy has 8 different Mattints released, and they do have a green one called Fern, but this time I enjoyed using the blue instead. As you can see, somewhere I have covered the whole green area, somewhere I am adding dots or just a little bit of shading. Here I will actually add one more layer of Mattints. What I can say, they are really slightly tinted, which actually gives you a lot of opportunity to control the amount of shading that you want to get in this case, or the amount of tinting that you want to get on your project. Now I have to say, it's obvious when, like that little mistake that I have on my paper, if you place your Mattints on a white paper, the result is much more effective than when you put them on already colored area. Now to add some more interest and texture on my hillside, and to even these green colors, I will use a white acrylic paint. This one is PaperArtsy Fresco Finish Chalk Acrylic called Snowflake. let's move on to the next layer of color. This time I will use a blue shade called Smurf. But before I start applying it, let's first draw a sun. And for my sun, I will use a color with very appropriate name called Sunshine. As you can see, when I just apply one layer of these colors, it just looks very simplistic and boring. But we will change that by adding some matins later on. Now very soon after adding my new Mattints color called Squeezed, it is already adding some more dimension and interest to my sun. I am mostly applying the Mattints to the lower portion of my sun and then just pulling a bit color using the brush or my finger. Off camera I think I will add one more layer of Mattints, just didn't want to bore you because this video is long anyway. Now for the last section of my landscape I will use Fresco finish chalk acrylic called Bubblegum, and I will try to apply it really evenly in my sky area of my landscape. But as you might guess already, I won't let my color look so plain and even, and instead I will upgrade it using some more Mattints. This time these two beautiful colors called Jam and the pink. In case of both colors I will apply 2 or 3 layers, I'm not really sure, as I won't show that on camera because otherwise this video would have lasted at least 1 hour. But the point is you apply as many layers as you want, as much as difference you want to achieve in tinting your original shade. And of course, what I would like to mention, between applying each layer of paint, I did a little bit of drying using my heat gun. Now we have our basic background and it is time for some doodling. For most of my doodling I will use Posca pens in black color. And first step was to separate each this area of different color, as you can see here. Now, sadly, one smaller part of my doodling process I forgot to record, but I promise it is really nothing really fancy or complicated. You will notice what I mean in just a couple of seconds. So you can see I added those black stripes and that scalloped edge to one of my heels. Here again, very simple, adding little white line using white Posca markers. Here I am trying to draw some leaves First I am using a Posca marker, and later on I will use a much thinner Pigmamicron pen in black color for adding some smaller details. Oops, not a Pigmamicron, it's a black gel pen, sorry. Honestly, for this kind of little details you use whatever you have. Now, between the leaves I will fill all the areas using black Posca markers, and I will add a couple of white dots using white gel pen, and it will look something like this. Anyway, here I'm also trying to show you that I am once again using the same stamp set that I used for my girls to do some stamping using Mattints. The result is kinda same when you do stamping with any watercolor medium, with one important difference. A design stamped with Mattints is permanent, unlike when you stamp it with watercolors and it can be reactivated even once it was dry. And of course, as expected, like stamping with any kind of more wet medium, the image stamped is not crisp, but it is still fun and adds some really interesting texture. You can see I am trying to repeat the process on various sections of my background using different colors of Mattints and different stamps from the same two stamp sets that I used before. Once again, using Mattints to add some freehand doodles, or better say details, as I was going for a really whimsical type of background. To be honest, working with this much colors makes me a bit confused, so I felt the need to push that colors a little bit back. And one way to do this is to add some thicker black frame. This time I decided to use one of Art by Marine refill pages in black color and trim my original page. Now of course what's left to do is to adhere my page, and it will look really nice that way. For adhering I am using double-sided tape, but later on I will add a little bit of liquid glue as well for those areas which weren't covered with the sticky tape. At this point I started to plan out my final layout with the elements which I already colored and fussy cut, but before I adhere them I decided to add my quote, and for that I will again reach for PaperArtsy product designed by JoFY. and it is this beautiful stencil. For stenciling I will use the acrylic paint called the Little Black Dress, as again the black frame, the black details and this black quote kinda come together really nice against all those colors in the background. To help my quote stand a bit more against the background and to fix those little areas where my paint went under the stencil, unfortunately, I am using a Posca pen in white color. At this point, my focal images were fussy cut and adhered, but for example for this girl it was really hard to fussy cut those little flowers, so I decided at this point just to draw them, and that was the last step for this project. Now that the project is complete, hopefully you can see the effects of tinting my original colors with Mattints. I think it is really fun. Sadly, I think it looks a little bit better in live and it's a little bit more effective in light than I managed to catch for you with camera, but hopefully you can still see slight effects on certain areas. But as I said before, I really encourage you to check other blogs on Mattints because they have some other fun properties that I didn't explore in this project. And of course, thank you for being with me today. I wish you all a nice crafty day and hope to see you soon. Bye!